The TESBROS Front PPF Kit for the Tesla Model 3. Let's do this. In October of 2020, a friend of mine purchased a Tesla Model Y Performance and ordered a pre-cut piece of PPF for the front bumper. Now he asked me to help, and I was able to document the experience in a previous video. And for those of you that watched the video, you may remember several cringeable moments, most likely deterring you from tackling a project like this. While we did the research and watched as many videos as we could, we thought we were prepared and ready to take on the project. Now, even though in the end the product wasn't a complete disaster, we simply weren't properly prepared. Now, the videos didn't give us specific details on how to do the job, and the instructions that came with the PPF kit were just enough to get you by, but not specific enough to give you the tools you need to get the job done properly, especially if you've never done it before. This is where TESBROS comes in, and let me tell you off the bat, they nailed it. The packaging alone is enough to impress anyone, but there's a lot more to it than pretty packaging. Not only do they give you everything you need to get the job done, but they took it one step further. In fact, a big and important step that makes them stand out above the rest. They put together an extensive step-by-step video series for you to watch to not only show you the proper way to do things, but also how to handle common problems you may run into along the way. And let me tell you, by the time I finished watching the video series, I felt like I was a seasoned pro. Now in this video, I'm going to share with you my experience on how I was able to successfully apply the TESBROS Do-It-Yourself Front PPF Kit for my Tesla Model 3. Making sure they make precise cuts so the pieces fit perfectly on your car is only part of the process. What is just as important is making sure you know what you're doing from beginning to end. This is why TESBROS put together a detailed, and I mean detailed, series of videos taking you step by step through the entire process, from introducing you to what's in the kit all the way through to the end, to proper care after it's installed. While my kit was being delivered in the mail, I took advantage of that time to watch all of the instructional videos. And although it may seem like a long, drawn-out process, you don't want to skip any of it, because every part of the process helps to ensure a successful application. Now, the first video gave me an idea of what to expect once I opened the kit, and it includes everything. Now, the only thing you'll need are 2 wash buckets, a grit guard, and a good towel to dry off the car. That's it. TESBROS provides everything else you'll need for the entire process. Next, they show you how to mix the slip and tack solution. Now, it may sound simple, but they explain how you may need to add more or less solution based on the overall feel and the type of environment you're in. So be sure to watch this section carefully. Now, once you have your slip and tack solution ready to go, it's time to try a few practice pieces so you know what to expect when it's time for the real deal. Now, the first piece, it's simply rectangular and allows you to check your slip solution to make sure there's enough slip. This will also be an opportunity for you to familiarize yourself with different squeegee techniques. Now, the second piece will show you how to properly tack down one side to allow you to stretch the other side of the PPF over a sensor. Now, once you get all of that down, they show you step by step on how to apply the PPF pieces to the side view mirror. Once you're done, this should give you a good idea as to whether or not you're up for this. And if you decide this isn't for you, no worries. You can send it all back to TESBROS for a complete refund, as long as nothing else is opened up or used. By the way, that beautiful job you did on the side view mirror, you have to take it off because the side view mirror is not prepped properly. So go ahead and rip it off and you'll get to do it all over again. Once you've watched all of the videos and you've determined you're up for the job, it's time to prep the surface of your car to ensure it lasts a long time. Now, since I washed the entire car a few days before the install, I woke up early before the sun came up and started by washing the front end of my car using the supplied soap and wash mitt. Next, I washed the car with the supplied degreaser and then dried the car thoroughly. The third step in prepping the car is to use the supplied clay bar to lift off any mist contamination on the car to help give you a smooth surface to apply the PPF. And just when you thought you were done, there is yet one more step in the prepping process called edge prep. Now, this cleans all of the hard to access places, especially the gaps between panels and under the hood. You'll be surprised to see just how much dirt you'll remove. This will also ensure proper adhesion of the PPF, especially around the edges. And last but not least, TESBROS recommends doing whatever you can to reduce the amount of dust in your work area. And for most people, that will be your garage. Now, it's a good idea to give the garage a good sweep, reduce airflow by turning off any fans, wet the surface of the floor to trap dust particles, wash your hands thoroughly, and make sure your clothing doesn't have any pet hair or lint. The last thing you want is a lot of dust particles getting on the adhesive side of the PPF. Before peeling off the first section for the fender, I decided to give myself a refresher by watching that part of the video series again. It didn't take long because I skipped through the parts that were still pretty fresh in my mind, but it gave me the confidence to move forward. I also kept my computer close and followed along while pausing parts that took me longer. The first piece was a nice start because it wasn't very big and there really weren't any difficult spots. I followed along with each tack point while using the different squeegee techniques I learned to get the rest of the slip solution out along with most of the bubbles. The second piece was bigger and a little more intimidating, but once I placed it on the car, I made sure to stay calm and follow along with the video. I have to show you the rest of the process on the other side of the car because my camera was actually overheating, but you get the idea. I was able to get through all of the trouble spots and even take care of those pesky fingers or wrinkles that formed around the side repeater camera and the curve around the tire, all thanks to the instruction of the very useful TESBRO video. The third piece was not at all that difficult. I just made sure to butt up against the seam the best I could and squeegee out the rest of the slip solution to tack it all down. And just like that, I was done with both sides of the car. At this point, I was getting pretty confident and the hood section didn't really scare me. Now that I was becoming more and more familiar with how to work with the PPF and even tackle some of the more common issues like wrinkles or what are also known as fingers, and making sure I used enough slip solution, I was ready for one of the biggest pieces of the job. Unfortunately, my camera was still acting up and it didn't record any of it. That said, minus a few persistent fingers that took time to completely tack down, I was able to apply the hood without any major issues. Now, after letting it sit for a few hours, I then wrapped the remaining PPF around the underside of the hood, as TESBROS explains on the video. I took my time with small sections at a time to make sure it laid down flat without any bubbles or wrinkles. After about 5 hours of work, I was able to get the left and right side of the car done along with the hood. I decided to call it a day and do the rest the next day. Even though things had gone smoothly up to this point, I felt it was good for me to step away for the rest of the day and just relax. Plus, it was over 100 degrees that day and it was hot in the garage. Now, even though I was feeling pretty good about my work so far, the front bumper scared me a little, and I think it was because this is the area I worked on with my friend on his Model Y Performance. However, we were dealing with one piece for the entire front bumper. TESBROS helped to make the process easier by cutting it into 5 different sections, starting at the top near the hood and working your way down to the bottom under the vent. Now, once again, that fear quickly disappeared once I got started, and with a little time and patience, I was able to get it done without too many flaws. Now, what I mean by that is there are a lot of seams, and some of them butt up against each other perfectly, while others were a little more challenging. And there are a few very small gaps that, honestly, most people wouldn't notice unless they're looking for it. Now, once I finished the front bumper, it was onto the side view mirrors, and at this point, I didn't need to use the videos. I already applied the driver's side successfully in the practice section, so I did it again and just used the printed guide they included in the kit. No problem. Next, the headlights, and once again, I decided to just use the printed guide, but in hindsight, that wasn't the best choice because I had some persistent fingers that would not go away and had to get a little creative to get them to hold. Now, what I did is I ended up getting the finger to no bigger than 3 inches, waited about 5 minutes for it to dry, and then pushed it down with my finger, and it tacked down without any issues. However, just for fun, I decided to watch the video the next day. And they explained that if you have persistent fingers like I did, it's because you didn't stretch it enough. Once again, this illustrates just how useful the videos are. So in my opinion, use them and use them to your advantage. Now, the fog lights were done within minutes and I was finally done. Now, the total time it took me to finish the project was about 9 hours, give or take, not including the prep, which was easily another 1 to 2 hours. My advice? Well, first and foremost, I can't stress this enough, just how useful the instructional videos are. Without them, the install would not have been nearly as successful. There is nothing more valuable than having an expert walk you through the process step by step, while also showing you how to deal with issues you will run into along the way. And as I learned with something as simple as the headlights, there was a trick to avoid the exact issue I had a difficult time with. Secondly, take your time and stay calm no matter what happens. Once you understand even the basics of how to work with PPF, you quickly discover that you can easily fix a mistake as long as you take care of it early on rather than a few hours later. For example, if you use Tack solution and you don't like where it tacked down, no worries. Just peel it back, spray on some more slip solution, and try again. One more thing. Make sure you have a good spotlight. The typical lighting in the garage won't be enough. It is so much easier to see what you're doing when you have a spotlight directly on the area you're working with. After looking at the job, I did notice there were a lot of bubbles that were left over. Now, one of the things TESBROS mentions is that if it's smaller than a nickel, they should disappear within a few weeks. So I have confidence that any bubbles I have will disappear within a few weeks. And after contacting TESBROS, I asked if it would be best to leave the car outside in the hot sun. And they said absolutely, because then the bubbles would most likely disappear sooner. Would I do it again? Absolutely. In fact, if TESBROS ever comes out with pre-cuts for the rest of the car, I'm there. Are you listening, TESBROS? Bottom line, if you're currently researching PPF for your car and you have even considered a DIY kit, then I say look no further. The combination of the pre-cuts and the instructional videos make this a project almost anyone can do. This is the third pre-cut item I've installed from TESBROS. First, there was the center console wrap, then the Chrome Delete kit, and now the PPF kit. And every time I have been thoroughly impressed with just how good the pre-cuts are. TESBROS has got it down to an exact science as far as I'm concerned. I also love the fact they give you pieces to practice with so you can brush up on your skills and become more familiar with something most of us have never worked with. So if you're ready to take on this project and want to save some money while you're in the process, Be sure to use my discount code FrugalTeslaGuy at checkout, and it will be even easier to get the discount if you click the link to their website provided in the description below. Now, obviously, it's best to apply PPF to your brand new car, but if you have an older car like me with a lot of nicks and chips, it's never too late to protect what you love. Well, thank you all so much for watching, and you know the drill. Like, subscribe, and stay positively charged.